Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're following the crazy adventures of Max and Sarah, two best friends who love pushing each other out of their comfort zones. Their latest challenge, living off of food trucks in Los Angeles for 48 hours. Will they discover delicious hidden gems or experience culinary disasters? Let's find out. Max and Sarah were two best friends who loved to push each other out of their comfort zones. As YouTubers, they were always on the lookout for their next big challenge to entertain their audience. Max was the outgoing and adventurous one, always coming up with crazy ideas, while Sarah was the more cautious and sarcastic one, secretly enjoying Max's wild antics. Their latest challenge was to spend 48 hours living entirely off of food trucks in Los Angeles, California. Max had heard about the diverse food truck scene in the city and thought it would be a fun and unique experience. But he wasn't just going to do it alone. He wanted to drag Sarah along for the ride. Sarah, on the other hand, was not so keen on the idea. She was a picky eater and didn't trust the hygiene standards of food trucks. But Max was persistent and eventually convinced her to join in on the challenge. The catch was that Sarah could only choose food based on recommendations from random strangers on the street. Max thought this would add an extra element of surprise and make the challenge more interesting. They started off their challenge early Saturday morning, with Max eagerly leading the way to the first food truck they spotted. Sarah, on the other hand, was already regretting her decision. She looked around at the bustling streets of LA and couldn't help but think how ridiculous this challenge was. Max, ever the showman, decided to film a food truck review segment. With a dramatic flourish, he held up the offending sandwich and declared, "This, my friends, is what happens when dairy products defy the laws of time and space." Sarah, whipping a tear from her eye, caused more by laughter than the smell, deadpanned, "Let's just say this cheesy has a very interesting personality." The viewers at home would be treated to close-up shots of the offending cheese and Sarah's exaggerated expressions, adding another layer of humor to the situation. They approached their first food truck, and Max eagerly asked a passerby for a recommendation. The stranger pointed to a food truck called Taco Town and said it was the best in the city. Max and Sarah exchanged skeptical glances, but Max was determined to stick to the rules of the challenge. As they approached the food truck, Max excitedly ordered a variety of tacos, while Sarah reluctantly chose the least intimidating option on the menu. As they sat down to eat, Sarah's suspicions were confirmed when she found a hair in her food. She glared at Max, who was too busy devouring his tacos to notice. Sarah couldn't help but let out a sarcastic remark. "Oh, this is just what I needed, a little extra protein in my food." Max laughed it off and continued to enjoy his meal, but Sarah was already feeling defeated. She knew this was just the beginning of their food truck journey, and things were only going to get messier. "You know," Sarah admitted, taking a bite of the churro, "this challenge wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. Sure, there were a few interesting experiences, but it was definitely an adventure." Max grinned, victorious. "See, I told you it would be fun. Besides, you can't say you don't have some epic content for the channel now." Sarah rolled her eyes playfully. "Oh, you bet I do. And next time," she said with a mischievous glint in her eye, "you're the one taking recommendations from strangers." Max's grin faltered for a second, but then he burst out laughing. All right, he conceded. "Deal. But next time, we're picking a challenge that involves a little less questionable hygiene." They both laughed, their bond strengthened by their shared experience and the promise of future, even crazier adventures. Their next stop was a food truck called Burger Boss. As they approached, they noticed a long line of customers waiting to order. Max and Sarah joined the line, and as they got closer to the front, they could hear the loud and obnoxious voice of the food truck owner. He was shouting at his employees and cursing at the customers. Sarah's anxiety levels were rising, and she was regretting not bringing a snack from home. Finally, it was their turn to order, and Max eagerly asked for a recommendation from the disgruntled owner. He recommended their Boss Burger, which was supposed to be their signature dish. Max ordered two, one for each of them, and they found a spot to sit down and eat. As they took their first bite, they both simultaneously spat out their food. The burger was dry and tasteless, and Sarah couldn't help but make a face. Max, on the other hand, couldn't stop laughing at Sarah's reaction, but their amusement was cut short when they noticed the food truck owner storming towards them. He had mistaken Sarah's face for a sign that she loved the burger and wanted to take a picture with them for their wall of fame. Sarah was horrified, but Max saw this as an opportunity to get some great content for their channel. He agreed to take a picture, and Sarah couldn't help but roll her eyes. As the day went on, Max and Sarah encountered more and more mishaps. From accidentally eating something too spicy to getting caught in a food fight with a group of rowdy teenagers, their 48-hour food truck challenge was turning into a disaster. But amidst all the chaos, Max and Sarah couldn't help but laugh at each other and their ridiculous situations. As the 48 hours came to an end, Max and Sarah were exhausted and covered in food stains. They had made some unforgettable memories and had captured it all on camera for their audience. But most importantly, they had strengthened their friendship and learned to appreciate each other's differences. As they bid farewell to the food truck scene in LA, Sarah couldn't help but admit that she had secretly enjoyed the challenge. Max, with a mischievous grin, replied, "I knew you would. That's why I'm your best friend." And with that, they both burst out laughing, ready for their next crazy adventure.